Welcome back, everybody, to the Rehab on the Mic podcast. Today's guest is actually a bit of a full circle moment. We have Chad Guerrero here. He actually had us on his show almost a year ago now, the Ortho OT podcast. He's a longtime Comprehend customer, and he's kind enough to come back on and talk about his background in OT, which I personally think is very interesting. So we're flipping the mic around kind of this time, letting him talk more about his background, what he's doing, and then we'll dive into some Comprehend too. So Chad, we know you're an OT. I know your background a little bit, but you have quite the certifications that usually we see in PT. So I'm curious, can you talk about that a little bit, kind of talk about yourself and what got you into the manual therapy world?
Thanks so much, Chris, for having me on. This is it really is nice because you guys were kind enough to come on to my podcast. We talked about Comprehend, which, like I said, we'll get into that, which I tell people, anybody that wants to know, that changed my life, honestly. So if you're a clinician and you're documenting, which is, we all are, definitely changed my life. So yeah, I'm an OT. I graduated 2005. My program that I went to was a phenomenal program, and it had an agreement with Tulane Medical Center at the time. And so part of our training and our education, we got to go down to Tulane. And so all of those classes there, I believe that maybe one or two were taught by physicians, so orthopedic surgeons, neurologists, neurosurgeons, psychiatrists, pediatricians, taught all of those courses, which was really, really interesting and great to have that kind of, approach to it, kind of that lens to be able to look at those things and how they approach those things. Our cadaver lab at the time was taught by Dr. Sandor Vieg, I believe was the director of the medical school at Tulane. So just incredible experience that I got to have. And so I was always interested in kind of ortho type stuff, sports stuff. A lot of people, you see a lot of my content online, they're like, man, I thought you were a PT. Well, so let me tell you the reason for that. And people ask, why didn't I go to PT school? So I get asked that a lot, actually. And the reason is when I graduated high school, I really didn't know 100% what I wanted to do. I had had a little bit of exposure to therapy from the what's called an AHEC program. It's like, high school students kind of go around and shadow different professions. So I got a little bit of exposure there. So I thought, well, this is really interesting. And so I, kind of that's in the background. I started in college. I was going to major in aviation, want to be an airline pilot. Needless to say, that did not pan out. Changed my major because at the time I was exercising a lot, like working out a lot, lifting weights a lot. I loved it. And I hurt my elbow, and it just would not get better. And of course, this is before all the great access, the internet. Yes, the internet was there, right? But not like it is now. And, went to therapy and tried to get it kind of fixed, and we just would not get better. It was taking forever to get better. And I'm like, there's got to be a different way or a better way. And so I started kind of doing some research on my own, finding some different information with things like, in the ortho world and more manual therapy and sports rehab type things, because the place that I went was just kind of like an all-encompassing rehab, everything from like, maybe a stroke patient to tennis elbow to, whatever, just a kind of a plethora of diagnoses. And so I did some research on kind of what to do. And I come up with a little program kind of on my own, and it ended up, it healed, with time. And then of course the things that I did, I guess, healed my elbow, my tricep. And so I was like, well, I probably could do that again, maybe for somebody else. And so I thought, let me go back to this therapy thing, right? So I changed my major, went into OT because at the time there was not a PT program close by. So I did not graduate. I didn't have the best financial situation. So for me, I had to kind of go back to what was close. And so the schooling that I went to was about 35 minutes from my house. And it was an OT program. And again, it was a phenomenal program. And we learned kind of full body stuff. We learned the whole person, the whole body. We learned anatomy on the full body. We learned all the conditions of the full body. And so I thought, well, when I get out of school, my goal is going to be, I'm going to practice into this orthopedic kind of stuff. And not a lot of manual therapy exposure yet. And so I got out and went to work at a clinic, and, was not really doing much manual therapy stuff, mostly just exercise, which, I'm a big exercise person. I believe that we know the research, all that kind of stuff. There'll be a big debate with people with manual therapy always, right? But I think it has a place in time. And so I went to a couple of courses, and they had some manual therapy, kind of inclusion, and some of the instructors were, certified manual therapists, and now these different techniques. And of course, we learn these things in school, but you're just skimming it, right? You're just getting across the top of it a little bit, and so I thought that was fascinating because the hands-on techniques, I felt like, okay, when you go to the doctor or something and they put their hands on you and kind of feel and test you and these kind of things, I feel like I really got some kind of assessment. And so I wanted to start incorporating that into my practice. And so then I started kind of learning about that more, reading about that more, and then different organizations that I started going to some of their courses and training. There was one organization at the time, OTs could take the upper extremity, like neck and upper extremity, and then they didn't allow us to take the lower body, lumbar, spine, and lower body. I don't know. That was really weird to me at the time because I thought, well, it's all connected. I don't understand what the problem is. And I learned it all. I had to learn all the different muscles and how it worked and the functional anatomy and kinesiology and all this. And so I actually reached out to that particular company years ago, and I said, well, why could I not take the rest of these courses? I want to take all these other courses. And they're, well, you can't. And I was like, but why? So I ended up submitting a bunch of documentation. If you notice behind me, I keep our framework back here, which is like our kind of general guideline. And I sent a bunch of information. I wrote some letters. I did some stuff, and they messaged me back and said, you know what? Actually, we'll allow that. Actually, we think that's actually not a bad idea. Why not learn all of it? That's fine. So you could take the courses. And so I took those courses. I've taken multiple other organizations. And so I always tell people the different organizations that I work with, because I still partner with some of them. So I try not to kind of pin one against the other, which one's better and all those kind of things. That's where the manual therapy stuff come in. I use a lot of different techniques as far as like the certifications and stuff that I went through. I hate the alphabet soup looking kind of a thing. And I went into a lot of that, not because of, I got to get more things behind my name, because nobody really cares in all honesty. But I did that because just I was taking so much courses and so much continuing ed, which I still do a lot of. And so it just kind of accumulated some of these things. And some of them are pretty easy to get and some are more difficult, like anything else. And but the reason that I put a lot of that even like on my website was not to say like, oh, look at all these things that I've done or whatever. Because again, some of it is, I would say, was very difficult for me to get, and some was not so difficult. But I do that just to show other clinicians that there are a lot of other things that you can go do. You're not pigeonholed into one thing. So there are things that you can do. And so that's kind of where that come from. And then I incorporate the manual therapy into my practice. I own my own private practice. I've had that since 2014. It's pretty large. It's almost 6,000 square feet. And I have a lot of ortho patients, sports patients. I created a sports med program at a high school, local high schools, had sports med students there. I do when they meet with their club, I go to the club and I provide information. We have all kind of like interactive stuff that we do, and they learn how to tape athletes and all these different things. So I certify like sports injuries and all these other aspects. So and my clinic stays pretty busy. So it's pretty busy on a consistent basis, and just treating full body kind of stuff. So that's kind of how I got going, in the manual therapy, I guess, just basically. In a nutshell, it's a
And
long
what
way around.
I appreciate the background. I always tell people, and we talked about this earlier, I usually get the question, what's like, is there a difference between a PT and a chiro? And I tell people all the time, it should be hard to tell the difference between the two. And that goes hand in hand with PT and OT. If
Yeah.
you walk in, I shouldn't be able to tell. Like if I walk into your clinic, most people will probably think like, I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're PT, chiro, or OT at that fact. Like you're treating the body. There shouldn't be a big gap there. If there is, there's something missing then. But with your practice, so Guerrero Rehabilitation, why did you end up opening your clinic? Was there like a certain thing that kind of pushed you over the edge? Like, I need to do this?
Yeah, actually, on a podcast I was on a while back, I talked about that. That very same thing was, it's kind of an interesting story. If you want me to tell, I try to abbreviate it to make it pretty quick. So I always wanted to open my own clinic just because like I like to practice the way that I want to practice, because where I was working initially, like a lot of typical, probably a lot of your listeners, whether you're PT, OT, chiro, whatever you are, um, we get told very much that this is your lane, you stay in your lane. Don't get out of your lane. Not that it's a scope of practice issue or even your training or education issue. It's just, this is the way we've been doing it, and this is the way we're going to do it. whether that's because of billing or insurance. We don't want to duplicate services or whatever that situation is. And so I wanted to be able to do things my way from that aspect. And the other thing was, I work places like probably a lot of people have, and a lot of the listeners and viewers, where you kind of were told, like, in certain situations, make sure you take care of certain people certain ways, or make sure that this is Mr. or Ms. So and so, or whatever that situation is. And I thought, everybody is the same to me. We're all human beings. And so I'm going to take care of people the way that I want to do it. If the person comes to me and they're like, I have no money, I can't pay, I have no insurance, fine, guess what? We're still going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you and do everything. I'm going to treat you just like the person that had the insurance that was paying 100%. You would be no different. You would never know the difference. And that's just how I've always done things. And so that was my goal, was to create that environment or atmosphere to be able to do that for people. And so it's been phenomenal. I mean, my clinic it just kind of took off. And I thought, you first waiting to get that phone call, it's maybe somebody's going to schedule, and then it just kind of took off. But what happened was, I was working in an outpatient clinic. I knew I wanted to open my own clinic, but I was like, well, I can't do that in my own town because they're going to fire me, right? They're not going to keep me here. They're going to get rid of me. So I went into a home health job, but the way that I went into the home health job was really, really interesting. For me, it was. So I'm very much like, and this is something for a lot of people, I think, I always try to share this, was don't be scared to step out and do your own thing. If that's what you want to do, whatever that is. And so I was really scared. I'm the kind of person, once I get complacent, I'm going to stay inside my box, my lane, do what I'm supposed to do. And so I got offered a job at this a home health company, making more money. And of course, it would allow me some flexibility to start my clinic, kind of get that going. And so I went and talked to the company on a Monday. On a Wednesday, and so on Monday, I go talk to the company. They offer me the position. I'm like, let me think about it. So I'm at my old job there. And the outpatient clinic was also connected to a skilled nursing facility, right? So we had patients coming over from the SNF. And there was a patient there, and this patient had Alzheimer's, and cognitively had just not been really, alert and oriented very well, come and go kind of thing. They were doing what we could with him, and had not had a coherent conversation, like a fluid dialogue with anybody in quite some time. And so I'm standing there, and he motions for me to come over and talk to him. He's in a wheelchair, and I go over there and I sit down and talk to him. And he says, hey, Chad. And I was like, okay, well, he said my name. That's interesting. That's pretty good. Having a good day. He says, something's on your mind. I'm like, yeah, yes, sir. I got some thinking about some things, how it is, whatever, small talk. He says, you've been offered a new position. I said, whoa, okay. The only people that knew about this is my wife and my in-laws. My mother didn't even know about it yet. My in-laws do not live in our same state. And I said, possibly. He said, I've been praying about this for 2 days. So this was Wednesday. Monday, I got the job offer. And he says, you're going to go out in people's homes and help them. That's what you're going to do. Like, how is this happening? I'm like, is there cameras? What is going on? Like, how is this even happening? And he said, you need to do that. He said, but that's not your end goal. Your end goal is you're going to do something bigger than that. But you're going to use this like a stepping stone. This honest to goodness has happened. I've told this multiple times. And I said, okay. And I talked to him a little bit back and forth. He said, you need to do this, do it. So I said, let me think about what I'm going to do. I'm going to call my wife, tell her about it. She's like, what? That's crazy. What are you going to do? I said, I'm turning my notice right now. So I turned in my notice. Actually, I gave a 4-week notice because, it's a little harder to find some of us sometimes, especially in rural areas, right? And the next day I go talk to him. I'm like, let me go back and talk to him and just see. And I go talk to him, and he's kind of back, not really coherent again. And he doesn't interact with me, just kind of smiles and, some brief conversation, but it's not really a fluid dialogue. Fast forward from there, I go into home health. I'm doing that for a while, getting complacent again. Need to jump into my own clinic, and haven't done it. I'm going to see my in-laws a couple hours away. This is on a Friday evening. A therapy assistant that I worked with for a long time, she calls me. I just told my wife, I said, man, I feel like I need another sign to do something like before, like the push. I need the push, right? And I get a phone call, and this girl calls me, and she says, hey, I just talked to this lady, we'd had as a patient off and on years ago. And she just asked me if you'd opened up your clinic yet, because her shoulder's bugging her and she'd like to come to you. She just didn't know if you were open yet. You were up and going. I'm like, I had 60 seconds prior said, I need some kind of like push. Right. And, so I talked to her about it. I get off the phone. I call my friend at the bank, who's been a close friend of mine for years. And he knew this was something in the back of my mind. I was like, I need to come talk to you. And so Monday we started talking, and then the rest is history. And then I outgrew my space within about 2 years, and so been steady going ever since.
Just seems like it was meant to be.
Yeah, it was kind of a it's an interesting. I mean, I thought it was an interesting story just because I'm like, there's no way this man. How did he know this? And it was it's pretty incredible. So yeah, I always tell people just do it. You know, if you have any reservation about it, just go do it. And it's been great. So I wouldn't do it
And
any different.
I appreciate that. I mean, I started my own cash practice, jumped all in, and then Jake and I jumped all in on comprehend. It was quite the risk, but my my story is not as crazy as yours. But that I appreciate you telling that. I mean, that is almost like direct intervention. Like,
Yeah, yeah, it was incredible. I mean, yeah, even like you guys going into cash, or you going into cash pay and a cash practice like that. Um, I think that's phenomenal. I mean, that's a huge topic in and of itself for a lot of therapists, OTs, PTs across the country right now, and maybe Kairos and whoever else, because like that's such a big deal to not have to be under the insurance thumb and microscope all the time and be able to do your own thing and like complete one-on-one treatment and all that. So I'm really I think that's fantastic. I mean, I'm a little envious of you guys being able to do that, or you being able to do that rather. And I mean, I think that's phenomenal. I mean, so that'd be a whole nother episode of doing that. I mean, honestly.
yeah, it comes with its pros and cons, like every type of practice. But I've enjoyed it. I'm happy that I did. It gave me the freedom to actually start comprehend because I was able to be a good guinea pig because I was treating one on one. I'm like, yeah, let it run in the background. If it doesn't pick anything up, I'll just type up the note later. It's only one note, but it's come a long way since then.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's amazing. And where are you based out of actually? Where's your clinic at?
So I'm up in Buffalo, New York, and it's funny. I started in my friend's powerlifting gym. He had like a probably 300 square foot room. He's like, hey, we're not using it for anything. I just so happened I was at working in an in-network clinic. I was seeing 25 people a day, and one of the girls that we had as an intern for the fitness side, she came in. She was a power lifter. She was talking about how her friend owns this powerlifting gym, and he actually wants a PT in there now because the gym down the street just got one. And I was like, oh, where do you go? And she mentioned his name. I'm like, oh, I used to play hockey with him for years. I was like, I'll text him right now. And it just kind of fell into place that right time, right place. He had the open space for me, went in. Now I'm in a golf sim facility. I treat golfers. That's just all I do
Oh,
now.
cool.
So it's nice. I'll show you later. I'm in a 1,500 square foot room. I got the golf sim in here. There's four more sims out there. I have a whole turf area, PT area, and a golf pro that works here too. So the setup worked pretty well for me.
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean, for what you're liking to do and something that interests you, and incorporating that into PT and all that is amazing. I mean, that's really incredible. I mean, and that here's a question. I'm kind of flipping around on you really quick and just ask your opinion on this because this is one that I get asked. Um, do you feel like that PTs, and I can also give the OT answer. Do you feel like when we come out of school from a exercise programming, like a true like strength and conditioning, or even a certified personal trainer that went through like a good program, do you feel like that you were like prepared to be able to like truly prescribe like fresh clinician exercises and like programming, or you had like a base knowledge of how everything worked, but you felt like you learned more as you kind of went?
I definitely learned more as I went. I think the perception of what school puts into your mind of like how you treat took away from like the background I actually had. Like I played a lot of hockey growing up, a lot of high level of sports with a lot of really good athletes. So I knew training, I knew how to work out.
Okay.
And PT school almost like diminished that a bit. It's like, no, if they have back pain, you start with bridges and clamshells, don't hurt them. When like realistically, it's modify their programs a little bit that they're probably already doing and then get them strong. Like the low hanging fruit is strength for most people. And like that's where my practice kind of thrives is I get golfers in here and we do a lot of testing. We look at mobility, strength, power, their speed, and there's always something missing there that you hit that, they could still do everything else. And like we talked about it, even when I did per diem in a nursing home, it used to drive me nuts. With OT only did upper body, PT only did lower body, and then they give these people 2-pound ankle weights and 2-pound dumbbells to do curls. They're like, that's all they could do. I'm like, well, they just walked in here and I saw Miss Betty pick up a laundry basket off the table. That weighs 20 pounds. Like, why is she not lifting heavier? I was like, that's your low hanging fruit. Power is what these people need. Make them do a heavy sit to stand. And it was always a debate. And I know your time that you have per person in the nursing home is different, but there's a lot that can be done to make it better. But that's a whole nother episode too that we can end up getting
Yeah.
into.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Honestly, I just had this conversation, honest to goodness, yesterday with our staff. I said, on how many times I've seen any kind of therapist, I don't care what it is, with a 2-pound leg weight on doing leg extensions or knee extensions or long arc quads, whatever you want to call it, or bicep curls with the elbows kind of tucked inside the wheelchair or whatever, 2-pound bicep curls. I'm like, look, when you walk, I was like, I weigh 178 pounds. When I walk, I mean, that's a lot of weight going through my knee. It's a long way from a 2-pound cuff weight. Or when you pick up a laundry basket or whatever it is, you open a heavy door or whatever. I'm like, that's a lot more weight. And you see so many therapists a lot of times that, they're underdosing a lot of what they're doing. That's one of the reasons why I went my strength and conditioning certs and things like that was because I just felt like I needed some more. Number one, I wanted the knowledge to make sure that I knew what I was doing, but then also give you a little more credibility when you try to do some of those things. And like you, I mean, of course, I was not involved in high level sports or anything like that, recreational stuff in my town, but the weightlifting was huge for me. I was a huge bodybuilding fan back then. And I mean, learning all the different, rep schemes and all that, why this and why that, and all these different things. And so for me, when I went into therapy school, when you're looking at like exercise prescription, I did look at it probably like yourself a little bit different. I'm like, 3 sets of 25 is probably not doing a whole lot with a 1-pound weight, or whatever, I mean, I know there's different reasons and things for different things, but that was something that it would drive me kind of crazy to think about. So yeah, I completely agree with you there. So
And like you brought up earlier, like the alphabet soup, I have a decent amount of certifications. And like you said, some of them were a weekend easy course to get, but I almost did a lot of those at the beginning, maybe to fix imposter syndrome, where like I went and did the course, and 95% of the course is all stuff I actually knew already. I just basically had to be told, like, no, like, go do it now. And some of them definitely helped. Like, I did the ready state stuff. That was a different way to assess and train people. I did like the TPI stuff because I treat golfers. Like,
yeah.
that was more important. But there's some things that you learn that you already know. It's just people need to be like given permission. And hopefully, listening, we just gave somebody permission. Like, no, go load up your patient.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I mean, like they can do more than what you think. Like I said, I initially when I first got out, even and kind of how I was learning it, like let's just say like even like rotator cuff. I'm like, oh my goodness, be really, really easy. I'm doing these, really simple, and I get it right, post surgical a little bit, but then it's like, no, we got to start doing stuff because if I keep doing this yellow band or whatever forever, they're never going to get any better. Adaptation is never going to occur, and so yeah, I mean, I definitely started doing a lot heavier things. I mean, just think about like they used to tell people, like older people in a geriatric population, don't lift weights, don't strength train. That's going to hurt you. That's bad for you. You're going to tear something up. You're going to do whatever. And look at the research it supports. It's like, no, that's like fountain of youth. Go strength train. I mean, it's phenomenal. So yeah, I think that that's a lot of people. That is another question. A lot of people do ask me a lot of times. Is like, is the strength and conditioning cert worth it or personal training? And I say, well, maybe not the letters per se, but just the education. If you've not gotten it before, you've not been exposed to that, or you didn't work out yourself and learn things on your own, I think it's beneficial. And of course, if you're going to work for like some kind of pro team or something like that, it helps to have some of those, some things they're looking for. They know that you have that expertise. So yeah.
Flipping back onto you. So
Yeah.
you do the podcast, the Ortho OT podcast. You have quite the subscribers on YouTube. Can you dive into that a little bit? Like, what made you start those?
So yeah. And thanks for bringing that up. It's so for me, initially I did a couple of videos on YouTube years ago. I think I got 110 or something views on one of my rotator cuff videos. And I'm very monotone, as the listeners can hear, so I apologize. And I thought, man, this is so boring. Nobody's ever listened to it. And a few people subscribed to my channel, and the people that listen to it, I think, were friends and family. I had a travel baseball team, so some of my kids are like 13 years old or 12 years old at the time that watched it or whatever to feel sorry for me. But so the whole purpose of why I started doing it, honestly, was because I felt like that patients would come into me and they would say, I would talk to them because I like to talk, and we kind of go through everything and listen to them. Like, tell me everything you want to tell me. Let's get it all out here. And people would say, man, nobody has listened to me. I had a lady yesterday that said, nobody has ever listened to me just to sit and listen to me complain and talk about all my things. I'm so sorry though. I was like, no, this is great. And so I said, when you leave, I want you to be able to leave from here. You know what's wrong. If the doctor has, and I'm not saying I'm not a physician, right? I'm not saying that, but maybe the doctor said you have general shoulder pain, general back pain, knee pain, whatever it is. And we're coming into more specific kind of what's going on with it and how are we going to treat it or whatever. And what's going on? What's the expectation? How long are we going to do this kind of treatment plan? What's our plan? How long are we going to do that before we change things up? If this doesn't work, what's the next step? What if I had to have surgery? What does that look like? What's a recovery look like? What are these information? Some of this information. So I started my social media, my YouTube more because I was trying to give out more information. It was very simple, but for clinicians that weren't getting that education, maybe. And then, or maybe they got it and they've been working in a different setting and they've just not been around a lot of ortho stuff for a while. It's just, where's the easy place to get information that, that I can, understand, because I don't talk super technical and probably not all that smart. So, the people can just understand. And so I started creating more videos. And about a year and a half ago, I had about 232 or 238, I don't remember, YouTube subscribers. And then I also started on Instagram. I didn't know anything about Instagram. Started on my Instagram. And I looked this morning, and this is a crazy number. I wish, and let me back up. Somebody said, what if you had that many subscriber or followers on Instagram as the views that I get? And the thing about it is I don't really care about the followers. For me, it's like, how many people can I reach just to give information? And so this is a low month for me. And, you get those analytics. So 1.6 million is my views on Instagram in the past 30 days or whatever. I think it's 28 or 30 days. And I usually average 4 to 6 million a month, which is incredible. So it's crazy. So at least it reaches people, and I get a lot of messages and a lot of questions, students and all that. And then I just started posting more on there, trying to figure out, because, the algorithm and the post versus the reels and times to do it and all that. I have my Facebook. I also have TikTok, just hit 10,000 followers on TikTok, and already had 2 videos disqualified because they said it wasn't original content. Like, those are my videos. I recorded those. I don't understand. So anyway, but the YouTube, I really pushed hard. And in the past, like I said, year and a half, 15 months, I don't know. I went to around 114,000, 115,000, I don't remember, subscribers. And for me, that's phenomenal. I mean, and the amount of views is incredible. And especially for somebody, once again, that's an OT versus, a PT or a strength coach or something like that only, which I'm also a strength coach, but somebody who's in that OT world. And a lot of people ask, like, do I get a lot of pushback and I get a lot of flack for that because I'm this OT creating this ortho content? And absolutely not. It's crazy. And I know there's always people that are kind of against you on certain things, but man, I've been so supported by every profession. I have so many PT friends like yourself that we talk or we'll text or we'll message or we like each other's content. And I mean, I am very much like a support or champion for all people. I mean, I definitely don't try to, put anybody down for anything ever. Even ice versus heat. I don't even give an opinion on that. I have like what I kind of like maybe a little more, but if you want to use one versus the other, you do what you want to do. That's great. Good for you. It works for you. So that's kind of how I built my social media. I work at that very hard and focus a lot of time. Actually, when I get off, when we stop recording today, I'll have 4 or 5 videos that I record. So I record almost daily. It just depends. I edit almost daily. I have right now I think in the last 3 months on YouTube, I've had a video come out I think every day since about June 1st or maybe in May 1st. And I have one every day scheduled all the way through the end of October, I believe. So long form videos, not shorts, but long form. So yeah, that's.
So follow up to that. Do you plan those out, or is that something that just kind of comes ad hoc? You're in the clinic and it comes to mind, like, oh, I need to video that.
Yeah, both actually. So a lot of what I get too is from, let's just say, tennis elbow. Okay. Cause like how many tennis elbows we treated, right? A lot. And so maybe you have 3 or 4 things that you would do, and maybe there's 10 different things that you do, right? I got like 10 different things, like combinations of things depending on the situation. So what I'll do is I'll create maybe 4 tennis elbow videos that would accommodate things like maybe you have exercise bands, or maybe you have dumbbells, or maybe you don't have dumbbells, or maybe you have anything that you want, or maybe you're a clinician and you have access to things, and maybe you have modalities and maybe you don't. So that's kind of how I break that down. I'll say, okay, if I were going to do this, honestly, what would I use and how would I do it? What are the things I like to do in the combinations? And so I'll put it together like that and I write it out. Um, and then also I get a lot of questions from people. I actually have 3 of the ones that I'm doing today were completely, people asked me, literally last night, someone was asking me about a ganglion cyst on the wrist on Instagram. And of course, all my content is not medical advice, right? It's education, giving information, education. And so I'm creating one of the videos is specifically for this person, so to speak. I'm going to post it on YouTube and I'm going to send them the link. And just because so many people just give ideas, they ask questions, and they'll even on my Instagram lives and stuff, they'll ask questions. And I'll think that's a good video. Or I'll say, you know what, you can go to my YouTube channel to get some more information. I'm like, wait, I don't know if I have a video on that. Okay, you know what, I'm going to make a video. And I had a guy from Bangladesh actually a while back that messaged me and was like, I have no access to any kind of equipment. I'm having this shoulder pain. I don't know what it is. However, I have an idea. I said, you know what, here's what you do. I have a video that goes over like rotator cuff, because it's something we see common. Go and do these tests on yourself to get an idea, right? If you have no other access to healthcare or whatever. So he does them. And I said, okay, based off of what you get, I have 2 different videos that I'll send you. And so I sent him one of the 2 videos. And then he messaged back and says, I don't have any of this kind of like, I don't even have exercise, these bands. I don't have any kind of equipment. I said, no problem. Let me think. So I started thinking of how I could incorporate these exercises and things with nothing. So I created that video, like the titles, like how to fix your rotator cuff, or how to help your I try not to say fix, because, you want to claim that you can completely heal everything. How to treat your rotator cuff if you have no equipment. And it's like, here's 5 steps or 5 or 6 exercises. And so I did that. I created it. I posted it. I sent him the link, and he messaged me back like, I don't know, about a month later. It was like, thanks so much. Shoulder feels fine now. So that's kind of how I do it. I mean, it's always people ask, or my own personal stuff that I've seen or experiences. It's like 1,200 videos now, I think, or it's over 1,200, I think.
That's awesome. And I know just from starting stuff like this, we're doing more content comprehend side. Like, it's not easy. It's a whole job itself.
Yeah. Yeah. I have people ask, do I have anybody that edits or does anything for me? And I do not. It's all me. I knew nothing about it. I didn't know how to do anything. Opus Clips, CapCut. I use all those things. I had no idea how to do any of it. And so I just figured it out. And actually, I gave myself like like a tenosynovitis of my thumb, because of so much on my phone. Just, you know what I mean? Just editing stuff. So yeah, it's a lot. So but again, everybody has been so awesome to me. So many people really support me and share my content, and have been there since the beginning, or have come on and supported me, or offered me opportunities like this to come on your podcast. And so I'm very grateful for all those opportunities.
You know the drill. Last patient's out the door at 6:15, and you've still got 11 notes waiting. So you stay late, or you take them home. Either way, the result's the same. Doing notes when you should be done for the day. That's why we built Comprehend. Comprehend is an AI scribe, compliance, and practice intelligence tool made for rehab therapy, not general medicine software retrofitted for the clinic. It integrates directly with your EMR, listens to the sessions, and fills your note. Not with generic documentation, but with a note that matches your style and preferences. You review and sign. Notes done before you leave the building. Clinics on Comprehend save 10 hours per therapist per week and report a 3.6x decrease in employee churn. See what your notes could look like at comprehendhealth.ai, or book a demo from the link in the description below.
Take me back. When did you decide to even try Comprehend? Like, what pushed you to do it? And what was your documentation like before Comprehend?
Whoa. Well, it was awful. I was always behind, like a lot of clinicians, right? Especially if you're in insurance based, because you got to document really, really well. Always behind. It was terrible. I'm typing all the time. I hated it. And I don't know how many hours a week. I mean, it was crazy. And I actually come across you guys on Instagram. And I reached out, the question I messaged, and I believe I talked to Jake, maybe, I don't remember. Maybe you don't remember, but I said like, hey, have some questions. I'm interested in this. Is this like, how does this work? I have no idea. And I don't remember if it was like a call right away or a set up a time call, but it ended up being Jake that called, and I'm talking to him like, wait, this is a person that it creates this thing. It's like owns this thing too. Like, how does this? That's impressive. And walk me through, everything, the kind of, I guess, that aspect of it, right? The technical brain of this inside AI stuff. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. I said, sounds good to me. I'm like, how much does it cost? And tells me the cost. I'm like, that doesn't seem very expensive. So my first kind of thought with it, honestly, was like, if it's only that much money, can it really be that good? Like, I mean, I'm thinking a lot of stuff, in our world, right? Is the more it costs half the time, it's supposed to be better or whatever. There's no way it's this cheap. There's no way. I'm going to give it a shot. And you had to like, maybe I got a free trial. I don't remember how it worked for so many days to use it. Kind of walked me through what to do. Started using it. The integration was easy. How it worked. The what do you call it? Oh my gosh, the add-on thing.
Extension.
The Chrome extension, yeah. So the Chrome extension, see, I didn't know what to call it right there, right? And so anybody can do it. For all the viewers and listeners, anybody can do it. So the Chrome extension was easy to kind of work that all out. And I use WebPT. And so I was like, here I go. Let me try this out. So I'm trying a little bit. I got the mic. And at first I was like, just trying to be really strict with it, like patient wheel, blah, 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 being very strict. Versus because I didn't really know some of the features of how it worked, and I contacted you guys again. Like, I need a little help. It's like, no problem. Here, let's walk you through more of this now that you've practiced a little bit, and the information dump that you can do versus also just the live let her run and see what happens. And I do both now, actually. And so I start using it, and I use it just initially for my evaluation. So the mic in there is like one of the mics that's picking up all the information in the room. Is there a laptop in there? Let the patient know, I'm going through this. There's an AI scribing system. I said, I always tell people, and I don't know if I'm correct or not, but I'm like, this isn't documenting per se. It's not verbatim you, unless it's something that needs to be verbatim. It is, what do you call it? It's understanding our conversation. It is comprehending our conversation. It is putting things together that's just incredible with our dialogue back and forth. And people are like, oh, that's really cool. So I just let it run. So I can do all my assessments, and then I'll tell them like, hey, I'm going to call out some numbers and stuff, and I'm calling all these measurements and stuff. This is just for my friend, my AI. I'll name it, sometimes or whatever, and just to pick up the information. The patient's talking, so I'm not looking down at anything. I'm not having to write. I'm not looking at some electronic thing I'm having to sit there and go through and tap. I've just got the AI running, and we're having a conversation. And I don't know how many times you get in a conversation, you got a family member in there, you go off to the side, and you'll lose track of dates and times and all that. Well, Comprehend does not lose track of any of that. And it's keeping track of all of it, and it's putting it together, which still is incredible to me how well it puts this stuff together. And so then at the end, when I leave out, typically what I'll do is there may be a few things that I want to add in. Maybe I want to say tell it what the DASH score was, or the modified oswestry, or whatever that is. I may want to just add that in. And so I'll stop it, which, obviously you can talk about, but that you can start and stop it as much as you want. Start and stop it. You got something you want to say completely off the record, just stop it. Patient wants to say, hey, I want to tell you something, but I don't want you to type this down. Maybe it's, whatever. I don't know. Okay, just stop it really quick or whatever. And, but also I think what's really interesting about it, and I don't want to overspeak on the technology, but it seems to weed through information that's absolutely irrelevant and not pertinent to the situation. So unless you're talking about baking the cake, and baking the cake, the shoulder injury or the back pain that doesn't allow standing tolerance is relevant to baking the cake, it doesn't care. It's not, it's going to weed it out. And so then the other way that I'll do it is I'll do an information dump, or I call it that. I don't know if that's the right term, but I'll come upstairs to my office in here, sit down, and I'll click, to record resume, click the resume button, start going in. Maybe I jotted down some notes, but I usually don't jot the notes down, just things that I just remembered. I'll run up here. I'll say those things really quick. I'll stop it. And unless I want to modify something like the goals, I may say, add me such and such goals. Add me 5 goals for 4 weeks. We're going to add 5 goals for 6 weeks, and do me 5 goals for 8 weeks or something, whatever. And if I just want to change that, and then stop it, hit comprehend, and then bam, everything populates where it's supposed to go. And I mean, it's incredible. I can probably, To our state organization, I'm on a chair on our for physical rehab on our organization board, and so I presented that, and it was incredible, the information. You guys may have actually spoke. Did you guys speak to that? I can't remember. Yeah, y'all did.
Yeah.
Y'all come on there. It was.
I think we spoke, and then we came on your podcast.
Yeah, that's how that worked. I couldn't remember, and people were just mind blown. And one of the therapists on there, I was like, I can do an evaluation and an information dump if I wrote it down as fast as I can talk. I can do it in about 2.5 minutes. I said, I promise you, my notes will far be superior to yours. Just being honest. I mean, just because it knows how to just dress this up, and then also reference as you go through the notes on through. It will reference. I actually have it in my reassessments. I typed in on the side where you can put in to always reference each goal for each area that was assessed, measured, whatever, and it's referencing it as I go through, which is just incredible. The range of motion, that way you don't have to say like, right, like we're going to increase neck extension to be able to, or shoulder, or whatever it is. It's going to already do that, and it's going to know that your measurements, this 20 degrees was more than the 10 at the last assessment. And so it's going to reference that is improving, not optimal yet, but improving for the person to be able to reach overhead or do whatever, which is just amazing. So yeah, I love it.
You brought it up, like talking about the objective measures, like, oh, I'm going to say them out loud. My patients actually love when I do that, because I used to educate almost too much, and I'd get behind in documentation when I was a travel PT treating. And it was one of those things where, as I started using Comprehend, I started talking even more about what I'm doing, and my patients loved it. To know, like, oh, your shoulder flexion was 150 degrees. Let's lay down. I'm gonna do these joint mobilizations. All right, this active release technique. Yeah, digging in. I know that hurts. And then I go raise their arm up again, and they're at 170 degrees. They just saw a 20-degree improvement. I walked them through what I did and why I did it. That usually hits home really well. And talk about buy-in, like as a cash PT. Now this patient's like, oh, he could definitely help me. He just got me 20 degrees and walked me through exactly why he did it. That's a win-win on both sides.
Yeah, I mean, and like while you're doing all these things, you've got your AI recording and you're hands-on with the patient. You don't have to sit across the room or sit next to them on a table and take your clipboard and write and measure and write. And it's so much faster. My evaluations are so much faster because I can just go through it, roll through it. And then any home program stuff that I tell them while I'm in the middle of, like, hey, I want you to do this at home, blah, blah, this, and this. We'll do about 2 sets or 3 sets or whatever. And so I tell them all these things. It's all going to pull up in the note that you educated the patient, all these things. I mean, it's incredible.
My wife had to do that the other day. She had somebody text her like, hey, I forgot what you told me to do. I know you sent it to me, but I can't find it. And she just went into the chat feature into their recordings, like, what exercises did we give them? And it spit it out, sets, reps, what you talked about, why. She just copy pasted it into an email, and she's like, I was already done. And I personally, I use my phone. I use the app, the Comprehend app, to record. Patient walks in, hit record, put it in my pocket, treat them. Next patient, same thing. I'll get 4 or 5 notes recorded. They all leave. I go to lunch. I can open up my EMR. I could get 5 or 6 notes done in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Phenomenal notes too. That's the thing for the listeners and the viewers need to understand. These are really, really good notes. I mean, we've had even, get random audits, right? I know we've talked about that before. I've been audited by insurance companies and stuff. Third parties will come audit for them, and we'll check and periodically check your stuff. I've had my practice since 2014, so that does happen sometimes. It's just normal. And actually, one third party, they contacted us, and I got the official thing in the mail. Was delivered, like certified and everything. Wanted me to sign it and all. Wanted permission to use our clinic as the model for documentation. They found no deficiencies in my documentation whatsoever. Said everything supported everything we were doing, and it was on a large batch of patients with it. With this company, actually, it was not just for. It was a third party. They were auditing for 2 or maybe 3 different insurance companies. I know 2, and so I was like, yeah, cool. That's when they show up with stuff like that. You're like, we got some problems. It was like, no. We want to use this. This was amazing. This was great. This was great documentation. So I've been really fortunate, knock on wood, of all my audits that I've ever had. I've not had any deficiencies with documentation. So that's really been, that's been good. And I will say this, all of my audits that I've had
set out to do.
Yeah, well,
We
and I mean, and all of the auditing that's been done has been since I've been using Comprehend. So this was not beforehand. This has been since then. So that, I mean, you could say, well, you just document really well. Well, I didn't have any before I started using Comprehend. So this is since then. So yeah, it's phenomenal.
yeah. So for any other OTs out there, and even PTs too, that are on the fence about trying AI, especially like the ambient AI, still some people worried about using it. Like, do you have any advice for them?
Well, so this is a great point, and I was asked this the other day because a conversation had come up about some instructors were talking like, well, our students are going to be dependent on this AI, and clinicians going to be dependent on AI, and they're not going to use their clinical skills, and the AI is doing everything for them. Well, here's the deal: you still have to put the information in. Like maybe you're not typing it in, but you're saying it. You know, like you're speaking it. So, and of course, you can always read over it. You can always make adjustments to the note, whatever you want to do, but the thing about it is if you're doing a good job as a clinician, in which, you know, to cover all your bases, you're covering all the different areas you want to. In fact, my notes also got better, I feel like, because I'm able to talk about more things and address more things. Whereas before, maybe I'm like, let's measure this, let's measure this, let's look at this. We don't have time for anything else. Now we're having this fluid conversation about all the actual functional things on a daily basis in your real life and your work and the things that are being limited. So you're when you combine that with the things that you're saying, your measurements, your testing, your questions that you're asking the patient, that whole dialogue, your note is improving. So you didn't lose skill. If anything, I have gained skill. So because I am now more interactive with my patient, I guess that's the biggest take home I would tell people is with Comprehend is I'm spending more I'm spending or I'm having more in-depth conversations with my patients to better take care of them and to better formulate plans because I don't feel so restricted that I must write these exact things down and hurry and go through all these and then go right into whatever, and I'm going to miss all the other fluff. This I'll mention that they have trouble bending down to pet their dog or whatever. No, 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 this is going to be able to address all of those things. It's all going to get pulled up. So I feel like for me it's made me a better clinician, honestly, and that's the honest truth. I mean, you know.
Yeah, and I know the hang up people usually have about like the ambient AI. They're like, our clinic is loud. My patients talk about everything. My go to every time I demo Comprehend, I always tell people, I'm in Buffalo. We talk about the Buffalo Bills every day, good or bad. It gets brought up, but it
Yeah.
never ends up in the note because it's not clinically relevant. Unless somebody jumps through a folding table and they hurt their shoulder or their hip, then that's their mechanism of injury. Yeah, that's going to end up in the note. But the AI weeds through all that stuff. Like, I'm with my patients for an hour and it's running the full hour. I hit Comprehend and it's only writing the clinically relevant information. So it's nice to hear that like that's happening for everybody too.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I tell people all the time. I'll say, you know, don't be afraid to talk. Talk, say whatever you want to say. It's fine. I actually had one lady one day. She was like, "What if I say that I knocked my husband over the head and drug him out back, you know, and buried him, or you know, she was just joking, whatever." And I said, "Well, here's the deal. The way the AI is going to run this is it's probably going to leave out that part, but it may say that you have difficulty hip hinging and carrying heavy objects from one point to another. You know, so you know, but it's not. It is. It's not going to bring in all this other small talk stuff that's not relevant, which is completely amazing to me that it knows to weed through these things and get that clinically relevant information. So yeah, yeah, don't worry about that. Just talk freely, do what you want to do, say what you want to do, and it is going to put it where it's supposed to go.
Well, Chad, I really appreciate you coming on. But where can people find you? I know you have all those different social media accounts. Do you want to kind of pitch them?
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, my Instagram is chadg_ortho_ot. My website is chadgorthoot.com. On YouTube, it is at chadgorthoot. TikTok is either chadgorthoot or the orthoot. I can't remember how I put it on there. And it's going to be the same thing. You can pull me up all over LinkedIn, all those types of things. So that, you know, it'll pull up in most of those places. Although the other day somebody typed in Chad G Ortho OT, or that no, at work they put in hear my clock in the background if you can hear the bird clock. We were just talking about that. But they typed in the Chad G Ortho OT, or their, I forgot how they put it up, but and it pulled up like a stunt man. It's for Chad Guerrero. There's actually a stunt man or something. I was like, yeah, I'm not him. He's a lot better looking than me. It's not me. And so, but But yeah, any of that, ChatG Ortho OT will pull up most of my stuff on most platforms. I'm on everything. Stuff that I don't even know how to work 100%. I've recently gotten on. So yeah. So thanks so much though.
All right. Well, we really appreciate you coming on. This has been great. I really appreciate the conversation and appreciate that we were able to get you on ours. We appreciate being on yours. But if anybody has any questions, I know you're very open to having people reach out. If anybody's interested in Comprehend, reach out to us. But that's it for this episode of Rehab on the Mic. We'll catch everybody next time.
Thanks so much.